on, Purple Rain Gang? This is your boy Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, back with another episode of Quiet Storm Sports. Yes, this is going to be the daily show where I hop on here and talk about anything that's going on that's relevantly news, of course, prioritizing the Baltimore Ravens, but also covering things that are going on across the realm of sports. So it's not just Baltimore Ravens, it's not just NFL football. It can actually be anything. That's what Quiet Storm Sports is. I know a lot of you guys are still new to the show, but I want to appreciate each and every one of you guys who come out here and support the channel. A little round of applause for you guys. Yeah, you deserve big round of applause to the Rain Gang. Want to welcome you guys in here as you guys are trickling in live here. Big shout out to my co-host Simply ASN Alex, who of course is not with me on this episode of Quiet Storm Sports, but he will be with me on tomorrow's episode, the Thursday show of the Purple Rain Pod, where we cover all things Ravens, plus a special guest we will be having on. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you stay subscribed as well. We got my guy RJ Ori in the house. What's going on, RJ? Appreciate you for coming through, popping out. A real purple rain pioneer there. Always showing up, always showing support, man. Yeah, multiple ways you can support to our channel here. You can also like the video, subscribe to the channel. You know, those are the two biggest things, obviously. Liking the video, subscribing, those are huge for us. Watching on X right now, shout out to you. If you're watching on Instagram right now, shout out to you. Love and appreciate you guys all the same. You can also send a super chat donation, which will be displayed live on the screen. I will cover it, give you a big shout out. If you want to support Sutton, you can do that for the Quiet Storm Sports Podcast. You can go on my Cash App. You can send me a Cash App. Anything helps, guys. You guys don't understand how much you guys do for us with the donations. We appreciate it each and every time. But okay, some news into here. Actually, a couple of pieces of news surrounding the Ravens, surrounding some other things going on in the sports realm. Again, guys, I don't want this to just strictly be about Ravens. Of course, that'll be primary focus as football season is ramping up. But I want this to be about multiple different things. So, but let's start out with the Ravens, of course. So yesterday we talked about Isaiah Likely and how he went down in a training camp. The first day of padded practice, he went down in a one-on-one rep against Sanusi Kane. He was grabbing his foot, his ankle. He was pounding the ground in frustration. And listen, it's never a good sign. Let me just say this first and foremost: it's never a good sign. A guy is pounding the ground in frustration. That normally means like he knows that something is very wrong, right? We all the time. In football, we see it in basketball, we see it across every sport. The most recent one that I can remember was the NBA Finals in that Game 7, where Tyrese Halliburton goes down and he immediately just starts pounding the ground. He's crying in excruciating pain. These are some of the best athletes in the world, right? They're not crying, they're not doing all of that because it hurts, like physically. They're doing it more so for the mental and emotional passion side of the game that they have. You know what I mean? Like that. They're so passionate about wanting to be out there and wanting to help their brothers and wanting to help their teammates. That's why they're, screaming in agony and pain and whatnot and crying. Not because it physically hurts. Of course, that has a lot to do with it. But I think the bigger thing is like they want to be out there fighting alongside their brothers, and that is absolutely commendable. But getting back to Isaiah Likely, I think that with Isaiah Likely, as we have already people watching live, thank y'all so much for coming through. Make sure you like the video, sound off in the chat if you are here. I want to hear you guys. If you're watching on X, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you sound off in the comments. I want to hear, and I want everybody to join the conversation here. But yeah, getting back to one Isaiah Likely, like I was saying, man, this is a guy who has helped this Ravens offense tremendously in a lot of ways that I think that a lot of ways people don't understand, right? Especially if you're not a Ravens fan, you're not going to understand exactly what Isaiah Likely does for this Ravens team. Yes, he is kind of like that hybrid wide receiver, tight end. But one thing that I did recognize, posted a clip on Twitter about this yesterday, how good he is blocking in space. And I've brought this up before too, but I never really had the film to back it up. I watch every Ravens game, so I take a mental note of these things in real time as I'm watching the games, right? But with Isaiah Likely, he really mauls guys out in space. Like I think the thing that makes him so good, and I think that this is why it was such a great pick by Eric Costa, right? Got him out of Coastal Carolina about 3 years ago. But this guy, like I said, he's a hybrid wide receiver and tight end. So when he gets out in space, he has the size of a tight end. But not only does he have the size of a tight end, he has the agility of a wide receiver, right? Of a much smaller player. He plays in a big frame and a small frame at the same time. It's really weird. But he can get up on guys really quick. Guys are honestly surprised about at just how quick Isaiah Likely is in your chest and blocking you, like going through you. Like he's fast and he's physical. That is what makes him invaluable as a talent on this team. Of course, the Ravens like to run a lot of heavy personnel, a lot of 12 with one running back, two tight ends with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely on the field simultaneously. That has proven that formation, that personnel group in particular, has proven to be very wildly successful for the Baltimore Ravens in the past while they've had those two. But I mean, I just cannot talk more, and I can't talk enough about sheer impact that Isaiah Likely has on this Ravens offense. I just can't. I just can't. Let me give a little shout out to the Ravens community on the Ravens Flock community. I want to tell them to come through, join the discussion. So let me see. Don Rose says, these receivers are soft. Zay is hurt again. Whoo, I don't know about soft, man. That's a little much. That's a little much right now. I'm not gonna lie to you, Don. That's a little much. Let me see this. Let me read this report here that we have on screen. This is coming from Ian Rappaport. So we were told yesterday that the MRI would happen today, and we'll have more news about how long Isaiah Likely might be out. So this is from Ian Rappaport this morning as of 8 a.m. He says Ravens standout tight end Isaiah Likely will have surgery immediately this week to fix a broken bone in his foot, sources say. The belief is he's going to be out about 6 weeks. Depending on the outcome, it could be fewer. While Likely could be ready for week 1, the best news is that it's not long term. Exactly. Now, I'll focus on the last sentence first there from Ian Rappaport's tweet. Shout out to him. Always doing a fabulous job covering the NFL. Yes. The best news about this is that it's not going to be too long. It's not going to be an injury where, he's going to be out some months. We might not see him until Thanksgiving, things like there's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. They say 6 weeks, right? The first regular season game for the Ravens is on September 7th against the Bills. That's 39 days from now, right? So that 6 weeks won't be up. And I'm just that's 6 for face value, right? Just straight up 6 weeks, period. That 6 weeks will not be up by the time the Ravens play their first game against the Bills. Now, what course of action do I think the Ravens will take with this? Of course, he's not going to practice anymore in training camp. Of course, he's not going to see any. He's not. No, I don't even think he was going to see any if he wasn't hurt at all. Guys just don't play starters in their preseason anymore. Head coaches don't. But what are the Ravens going to do come week 1 against the Bills? If was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. I get it. If he's 100% ready to go, what do the Ravens do? Do they still say, I mean, you're 75%, you're 85%, think that you can go out there. How do you feel, Isaiah? And of course, as a player, he's going to be like, yeah, I'm gung ho, I'm ready to go. But if I'm John Harbaugh, if I'm that coach, I'm taking every precaution necessary when it comes to an Isaiah Likely, because a foot fracture, right? It's one of those injuries where, with modern, modern medicine and modern, surgeries and things like that, it's not a lab ever, but your foot is something that you use literally. You have to use on every single play. You got to plant, you got to be cut, you got to dig your feet in the ground while you're blocking, things like that. Guys might come and step on your foot. So basically, what I'm saying is this injury can be easily re-aggravated. So I think that it would behoove the Ravens. It would be smart for the Ravens to err on the side of caution when it comes to Isaiah Likely's injury. I would not mind if we hold him out until week 3, to be honest with you. Let me just go ahead and take a little peek again at the Ravens schedule to see what games he could potentially be missing. So obviously, the Ravens play the Bills week 1 Sunday Night Football. Let me see here. And then you've got the Browns at home. Home opener against the Browns, 1 p.m. CBS game. Then after that, week 3, you have the Lions on Monday Night Football. Me personally, and again, we don't know how to progress with this injury, how he's going to end up, feeling by week 1. But me personally, I would err on the side of caution, hold him out of the Bills game, right? Maybe even hold him out of the Browns game. I feel like the Ravens can get through the Browns without, necessarily needing an Isaiah Likely. But let's come back for that Monday night game. It's going to be at the bank against the Detroit Lions. That would probably be the game that I would bring back. Bring him back as a Monday night game, and I think that would probably be the smartest thing. smartest course of action. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Thea Pennell, the full house, what's up, son? What's going on, Thea Pennell? Appreciate you for coming through as always. Let's see. Space Bandito 9. What's going on, brother? I traded Zay Flowers and a fourth for Terry McLaurin in my dynasty league. Thoughts? I mean, see, here's the thing. I said this on the Purple Rain podcast the other day when I was talking to my co-host Alex about it. I said that I think that Zay Flowers is the type of receiver where he's probably gonna have 1,000-yard receiving year. I will say that. Granted, if he stays healthy, and I'll get to his health in a little bit here too, but he's probably gonna have an 1,000-yard receiving year. I just don't see a whole bunch of touchdowns coming with it, right? If I had to bet over under 5.5 touchdowns for Zay Flowers, I'd probably take the under, and he'll probably get right at about 5. If you ask me, just because of the type of receiver he is for fantasy purposes. Of course, you want the guy who could score a bunch of touchdowns, but the way that the Ravens utilize Zay Flowers to get him the ball behind the line of scrimmage, screens, things like that, so he can kind of wiggle his way loose and use that speed and agility that he has. They also like to get him the ball in the intermediate area of the field as well, crossers, things like that, out or in routes, things like that, to where he can shake a guy. But the problem is he's always going to have guys in front of him after he catches the ball, right? And after he catches the ball, he does a lot of east to west, right? He's not as good at getting north and like really like breaking open, the breaking open top of a defense of a secondary and just running by guys. That's not necessarily his game. Only seen that happen with Zay Flowers maybe once or twice in his career. So with that being said, I mean, trading for Terry in your dynasty, I get it. Terry's going to be receiver one. If they pay him, I don't know. I mean, I know he's under contract for this season, but I don't necessarily know if the game plan is going to be to, just mercilessly feed Terry McLaurin, especially if he goes into this year without a deal. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I mean, and you also traded a fourth round pick too for Terry McLaurin. It's a little bit of a homer move from you. I know you're a Commanders fan, Beam, but I mean, it's a homer move. But I think that I, I really don't know, man. I really don't know. I would have kept A and the fourth rounder, to be honest with you, because I think that you can get some value out of that fourth rounder. But Terry McLaurin is either going to be a really, really good year for him, going to be one of those lackluster years where you can tell that they're obviously trying to move on from him and utilize some of those other weapons that they have. So we'll see. But yeah, getting back to Isaiah Likely here, belief is he's out about 6 weeks. Hopefully, right, he can rehab it a lot quicker than the expected 6 weeks there, and we can have him back by week 1, maybe even by week 2. But I personally, this is me, just sudden death speaking here, I would err on the side of caution when it comes to Isaiah Likely. Now, that leads us to this next topic, right, which kind of coincides with this. Once the news came out this morning, by the way, 70 people watching live. Thank y'all so much for joining this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. I am your host, Sutton Def, from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel on YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, if you want to, you can leave a super chat donation that helps the channel out a ton. You can also send money to the Cash App that is right here above me, right here, if you want to support Quiet Storm Sports segment as well. We'd appreciate that. The Don is in the house. What's going on, Don? We also have memberships here as well on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. If you want to be a Purple Rain patron, we'd appreciate that. And that's what Don is right here. It says, what's up, Sutton? What's going on, Don? Appreciate you for coming through. Love you, brother. But yeah, this kind of gets into our next conversation here, which goes hand in hand with the whole Isaiah Likely thing. Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is, of course, a very polarizing name in Baltimore fandom now, for multiple reasons. Obviously, he was all pro last season, led the league in tight end touchdowns, and he's been adored by Ravens fans for a long time. Hell, he's been around since Flacco was still around and starting. So he's been around for a long time. The Ravens adore him. Ravens fans adore him. The coaching staff, everybody in that building, they love Mark Andrews. But he's been under fire recently, and I think for some pretty decent reason too. Good reason. Mark Andrews is a guy who never shows up in the playoffs. He never shows up in the playoffs. So with this news of Isaiah Likely down, be out 6 weeks, we don't know if he's going to be ready for the regular season. People have been talking. People have been speculating about, okay, Mark Andrews, he's still our guy, right? He's still all pro bowler. He's damn good. He's a really good tight end. But that sour taste in our mouths about the fumble in the divisional loss against the Bills, and then ultimately dropping that 2-point conversion. So I've seen some slander for Mark Andrews, but overwhelmingly, I have seen today Ravens fans wrap their arms around Mark Andrews and kind of stand up for him. It's like you must have forgot. This is multiple time Pro Bowler Mark Andrews. You know what I mean? Like this is not just any old tight end. It's not like we're going to. It's not like it's no disrespect. It's not like we're going from Isaiah Likely being the most, I guess, highly anticipated tight end going into this year. We're not going from Isaiah Likely to Charlie Kolar, and no disrespect again to Kolar. That's not what this is. Mark Andrews is still the guy in Baltimore when it comes to tight ends. I get that. However, I think it is fair today that, like, listen, Mark, we we really don't care what you do in the regular season anymore. We really don't care. You know, the same could be said for guys like Lamar Jackson. Of course, he's had multiple. Him and Mark Andrews have just been tearing up the regular season ever since 2019. They've been strong in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, these two guys who I would argue, I mean, we need these guys the most in the playoffs. I mean, you think about come playoff time, you need very solid, efficient quarterback play. Of course, you need the big play potential as well, and you're going to get that from Lamar Jackson. But you need guys who are just going to show up in the postseason, right? And I think that wide receivers get neutralized a little bit more because of the nature of postseason play, where it's colder outside. I mean, eh, the pass rush, the defense is ramped up, right? You got to get that ball out quick. You got to get that ball out to a reliable target. And Rodgers had like 5 catches for 60 something yards in that game against the Bills. But when it mattered most, he was not able to show up for the team. So that's why a lot of fans really have their reservations about Mark Andrews in 2025. And I understand that. But I think it's also kind of unfair, for us to kind of throw him by the wayside and forget about all the good things that he does in the regular season. And again, with likely being injured, it kind of woke me up this morning to how many people still realize Mark Andrews is being the number one premier tight end on this. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the chat. Is Mark Andrews getting, you know, unwarranted disrespect here? Like, uh, do you believe that Mark Andrews deserves this criticism that he's getting? Do you think that he deserves the doubt that fans are placing on him at this very moment? Or do you think that, hey, look, like, yeah, Isaiah Likely's down, but Mark Andrews is still the better tight end, right? So they're not losing much, right? What do you think? Let me know down below in the chat. Again, me personally, I think that Mark Andrews, he can do all he wants in the regular season. He can do everything. He can score 11 touchdowns again. He can, 700 yards. Let's see January. For me, I have to see it in January. But it's 1 week at a time. And, I do think that he's going to go for a revenge game. I think Lamar Jackson will be very intentional about getting Mark Andrews the ball early, often in the red zone. If I had my dollar, I would that he's going to score a touchdown in that game. I think Lamar Jackson finds him in the end zone against the Bills in week 1. I'd be interested to know what the odds on that are when they come out, but I'll probably have to throw some money on that. Almost 100 people watching live this episode of Storm Sports. Again, I want to thank y'all for coming out. My name is Sutton Def. This will be a daily show covering the Baltimore Ravens and also other NFL content as well will be spoken about on this show. But then I want to talk about other sports too. So if you're into other sports, me particularly, I'm into MMA. I love the UFC. I will be talking that a little bit too on some future episodes. But yeah, let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. We got the Don, a Rain patron here, says, will Zay on the pup freeing up a valuable roster spot when it comes to the 53-man countdown? I don't know. And this was also another interesting, thing that somebody brought up on Twitter earlier today. Like, do you put Isaiah Likely on injured reserve? Or start the season, to have some more flexibility on the roster, and I guess you're talking about Isaiah Likely. I assume you're not talking about Zay Flowers. I know we do the big Zay, little Zay thing, but whenever I see Zay, I automatically think about Zay Flowers just by default. But I assume you're talking about I like Don, and it's mm, I don't think so because I don't think that Isaiah likely, and I don't think that the Ravens expect him to be out more than a month. I don't think that they expect him to be out more than 4 weeks. So, I'm saying after the season starts. So I don't really see that happening. Um, let me see what else you're saying. Don also says Mark Andrews will be Mandrews again. The next two touchdown, 100-yard game. Come the playoff game, they need to manufacture a Mandrews touchdown. That's true too. And I think I spoke to this. I spoke to Alex about this the other day. I spoke to Alex about this the other day. I said that in January, if the Ravens were to make the playoffs, knock on wood, I'm hoping they do. I just not wood. If they were to make the playoffs, literally first game, I don't care if it's wild card, if we get the 1 seed, we get to skip the wild card, we started a divisional. I don't care what. First game of the playoffs, you have to manufacture, you have to be intentional about getting Mark Andrews' confidence up, manufacturing a drive for him to score a touchdown, right? Like, he needs that. He needs that. There is a huge chip on the shoulder, monkey on the back, whatever you call it. There's a huge, enormous amount of pressure on Mark Andrews to perform in the postseason. So I think if you're Todd Monken, I think if you're Lamar Jackson, hell, if you're smart and John Harbaugh, I'm thinking the same exact thing. All the way up to Eric DaCosta. You know what I mean? Like, we've got some playoff struggles that surround a couple of our key players, right? I talk about some players on the defense, right, who I feel like need to step it up a little bit and make some more big impact plays in the postseason. But sticking with the offense, Mark Andrews is a guy. He's a leader on this team. He has been for a long time. Again, he's been around since the Flacco. He needs to step up in the postseason. There's certain guys on the team where they need to perform for everybody else to follow, right? You're too much of a vet. You are a seasoned veteran, Mark Andrews. We need you in the end zone in January, right? We need the Salt Bay celebration in January. I don't know if he does it anymore. I don't. I feel like it's been a few years since he's done that, but we need that in January, man. And I know Lamar Jackson knows that. I know Mark Andrews knows that. I know John Harbaugh knows. Todd Monk knows that. Everybody knows it. So yes, I totally agree with you there, Don. We have to make sure that we manufacture a Mandrews touchdown because so far he's got no postseason touchdowns, which is crazy. It's insane. Isn't it insane? He leads the league in touchdowns for tight ends last year. We get to the postseason, nothing. Radio silence. And of course, he gets his catches, right? Again, he had like 5 for 63 or something like that. In the postseason, it's literally night and day. Let me go ahead and pull up Mark Andrews' stats in the postseason. Mark Andrews playoff stats. Let's see here. Little Stat Muse. Shout out to Stat Muse, man. 2024, he had 7 catches on 10 targets for 88 yards. Right. So he actually had most of those catches against the Bills in the divisional game. So shout out to him. Most of the game, like doing what he's supposed to do, but in the biggest moments. And again, I actually rewatched that Bills game, that Bills lost yesterday. And, you know, the momentum that the Ravens had running the football with Derrick Henry, for that to just be completely just taken away from Ravens, like midway through the fourth quarter. I think there were about 9 minutes left in the ball game. That was the end of the game right there. That was the end of the game because we had all the momentum on our side. The Buffalo fans were reeling. You could hear it in the stadium. They knew, like, okay, like, we can't stop these guys. Because the drive right before that, Ravens had ran 68 yards down the field, right? And the Bills looked like they had no answer. They had no answer for it. So you could tell, like, their stomachs were starting to turn a little bit, the Bills fans at Orchard Park that night. Their stomachs were turning. And the tide was starting to swing in the Ravens' favor. But what happened, though? What happened? Mark Andrews, a leader on his team, turned the football over and just unprovoked too. He made just a totally unnecessary move. Again, it's these uncharacteristic things that I just don't understand. Like, I just don't get it in the play. I mean, I can talk about the Lamar Jackson interception in those lows. Same thing. I mean, just kind of floats a deep ball to Rashad Bateman, who's just nowhere to be found. Right. I know the miscommunication, but, like, these things don't even happen in the regular season. So it has to be a mental thing. Again, Mark Andrews catches that ball over the middle of the field after it was like a 15-yard, 20-yard catch, and he's got daylight right in front of him. If he just like puts his head down, I mean, it's snowing, it's wet. Why put the ball in harm's way? Just get north, right? I don't have the graphic with me right now, but you guys all know what I'm talking about. He had room, he had daylight. Mark Andrews did on that fumble play in the playoffs against the Bills. He had daylight to just run straight, but he decided to cut back to try to get a couple more yards. When Mark Andrews like, you got some speed, but you're not that fast, right? You're not like make a cut back and then accelerate and run around a linebacker and two DBs fast. You're not that fast, right? Isaiah Likely is more suited for plays like that, right? We know Isaiah Likely to cut back again. He's got that wide receiver hybrid in him, right? That's why he's able to cut back and make these nifty moves and things like that that most tight ends able to make. But that's not Mark Andrews' game. He decided it was his game that night, and he got stripped by Terrell Bernard. It was a beautiful play. Picked his pocket. It reminded me of a basketball play where a guy tries to cross you over and you pluck him from one side and you get the ball from the other side. It's really a beautiful steal. It was beautiful from Terrell Bernard. And that stadium erupted and they had all the momentum back. And what really kills me is that Lamar Jackson takes a lot of the blame for that game, for those two first half turnovers. I get that. But that second half, man, he just could not be denied. Ravens offense could not be denied, right? Unless they denied themselves, right? And Mark Andrews, unfortunately, he bears the blame for that, and rightfully so. I think Lamar Jackson bears the blame for the first half blunders, but as we all know, it's not about how you start, how you finish. It's about how you finish, man. It's 4 quarters of football, nothing more, nothing less. You have to make sure waning moments of a game, you are not making costly, stupid mistakes, especially on the road, right? When that fan base is waiting for a table to jump through at Orchard Park, and Mark Andrews gave them that moment twice. Um, it's just unfortunate because, like I said, a lot of people will blame Lamar Jackson for that loss, and he should not have turned the football over twice. He's got to stop doing that. Lamar Jackson even says he's antsy, sometimes trying to like get it all at once. And we saw that in the first half of that Bills game. Then kind of settled in, looked like the MVP Lamar Jackson again, dealing all over the field and whatnot. Had that late touchdown to Likely, but of course Mark Andrews sells the game. I'm not gonna sugar. He sold the game at the end, right? Don says it's crazy about Andrews not having a touchdown reception in the playoffs. That's right. It is insane. Absolutely insane. I still to this day, it baffles me. All the playoff games that they've played thus far, we have not been able to get Mark Andrews in the zone. But yeah, there's a big chip on the shoulder for him to perform this year. Not only, of course, not only in the regular season, but in January, we have to make sure that Mark Andrews is there because again, he's one of the leaders on this team. And you're gonna need your leaders to step up in the postseason if you want guys to follow along and and really lead you to a championship. He's a leader on this team. He's got to step up, period. I do think, again, he has the revenge game against the Bills week 1. I'll take it with a grain of salt, just like I know you will as well, because it's going to be like, okay, are you going to do this come January? If, again, not wood, if the Ravens are to make the playoffs, are you going to be able to do this in January, period? Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I think I've talked at length about the Ravens tight ends. Let's talk about another pass catcher. Some news coming out of Ravens camp today. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Yeah, so Jonas Schaefer. Jonas Schaefer, as you see tweeting here, he did not see Zay Flowers at today's padded practice, which is more bad injury news. Let me go ahead and read this tweet here. He says, "Don't see Flowers padded practice. He was favoring something in his knee/leg at the end of yesterday's practice, which he watched as a spectator. Walked slowly over to the Ravens' last drill. So now it's come back that Zay Flowers has something going on in his knee and his leg. I'd be very curious to know if it is the same, leg that he was dealing with last year. Let me try to dig into that a little bit more. Let me see. Zay was actually about how he got faster after the injury. Yeah, he had a season-ending knee injury last year. And today he says he was favoring his knee. So, I mean, it's just not good news. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's the same knee, chat. If you guys know whether or not it's the same knee, let me know down below in the chat. We got 134 people watching live right now. A lot of people watching live on X, about 120 people watching live on. Shout out to y'all for watching live on Twitter. Make sure you sound off in the comments. Sound off in the chat if you're watching live on X. And if you know which knee it is for Zay Flowers, is it the same one or is it a new one? Or I mean, not the new one, like the other one. Let me know down below in the chat. I'd appreciate that. But if it is the knee, this is not good news. Very, very bad news. Of course, it'd be bad news if it was the other knee too, but that would show, if it's the same knee, that would show that it's a lingering thing, right? And it's a very long 18-week season, 17 regular games in total, regular season games played total from this Ravens team. The schedule is not easy, right? If he's dealing with like sort of like I don't like a pain. You ever had like got injured or something like that, and then you have a full recovery, but after that recovery is quote unquote over, you're still kind of favoring that side, that knee, that leg, right? Because it feels like at any time this thing could flare back up. And I'm kind of subconscious thing. You're like mentally afraid of it kind of coming back and haunting you. If that is the case for a player like Zay Flowers, who relies on his agility, right, relies on his speed, we know he's not the biggest guy. He's not a big contested catch. He's not going to go up over two defenders and bring it down. That's not his bag. That's not his game. His game is all totally predicated around using those knees, right? Dropping low, cutting by guys, getting out of his breaks and really losing guys because he can just put so much pressure on his knees and come to a full stop just like that in almost an instant. That's his game. If it's true, right? If this right here is true, that he's favoring that same knee and like that same knee is bothering him, bad news. Very, very bad news. Very, very bad news. I don't mean injuries have not been the biggest issue for the Ravens in the past couple of seasons, ever since that they changed up the staff and the strength and conditioning coaches, and they got a bit better in that field. Especially last year, we didn't really see a whole lot of injuries, but this is definitely concerning for me, for somebody who's supposed to be, excuse me, the Ravens wide receiver one, like bona fide wide receiver one. This concerns me. This concerns me. It does. And we're going to be looking at guys like Rashad Bateman. We're going to be looking at guys like DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to be looking at guys like Tez Walker. Don C brings it up here. Devontae Walker on the bright side is looking like that stretch the field guy. Yeah, so coming out of camp yesterday, Devontae Walker had another really, really good day. It was said that Devontae Walker had a couple of good catches. One of them came against Nate Wiggins, a second-year Ravens cornerback who has been highly touted. He's having a pretty good camp, getting picked on here and there, but I love that for him. Iron sharpening iron. I think that he's going to be great. Nate Wiggins is by the time the season starts. But as Walker, we've been hearing some good things about him too. So hopefully, and I said it yesterday, I think that he's going to be the lack of production from Tez Walker this year will be basically a casualty of and a result of just the fact that the Ravens have so many weapons on offense, right? Granted, they can stay healthy. I just don't see a whole lot of opportunities going Tez Walker's way, especially with the Ravens being a run first team. I think that the Ravens were like second to last in pass attempts last year. The Ravens are a run first team. That's no surprise. They're predicated on running the football. Defense. They happen to have one of the best rushing quarterbacks, actually the best rushing quarterback of all time. And they have one of the best running backs of all time as well. So it's going to be hard. Just kind of like what Todd Monken said about Keaton Mitchell. What Todd Monken said about Keaton Mitchell the other day, like basically saying like, hey, look, like he's going to have to fight for touches, dude. He's going to have to fight for every single snap, because fact of the matter is we got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Justice Hill, who is a do-it-all guy, running the football for us, right? So when I look at the pass catchers and Tez Walker, there's so many other options on top of them being run first with a Derrick Henry, with a Justice Hill, Lamar Jackson, Keaton Mitchell, you know what I mean? And then going over to the pass catchers, you're way down the list, man. You're behind Zay Flowers. You're behind DeAndre Hopkins. You're behind Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. You know what I mean? Bateman, if I didn't say him. You're behind all those guys. Tylan Wallace, you're behind these guys. So it's just going to be hard to see him really getting on the field. But if he can string together a very, very good preseason performance where he's, scoring touchdowns here and there and he looks absolutely undeniable, then and only then I would say that Todd Monken can be more than justified to try to get him more snaps. Over 140 people watching live right now. This is an episode of Quiet Storm with your boy Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Thank y'all so much for coming through and supporting this episode of the show. If you're watching on X, which I know most of you guys are, shout out to y'all. Make sure you sound off in the chat. Make sure you also follow me on Twitter as well, because I will be doing this every single day. And I want to get you guys involved in the conversation too. Eventually, I want to do some call-ins where we have people call in and kind of give their opinion, their hot takes, whatever you got. I want to do that too. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Again, this will be a daily show, but me and co-host at Simply AS10, you guys all know him very well. We do have a show that we do on Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We will be live tomorrow with a special guest, so make sure you stay tuned in for that as well. Let me see. I think Ravens practice should be about wrapping up now. Let me see what other news is coming out of Ravens practice at the moment. Let me see. Okay, so couple things, right? And let me actually see what else I wanted to. I talked about Zay, talked about that too, talked about Mark Andrews. Yeah, so let's get to some more Ravens training camp stuff. I do want to get to the Shannon Sharpe thing with ESPN. I want to get to that, read through that article a little bit too, but let me see. Jeff Rebeck tweeted 27 minutes ago. Lots of veterans having limited to no reps today, so that probably explains a lot of it. But Ravens offense is a tough watch today. Penalties, drops, errant passes, the ball hitting the ground a lot. Tyler Loop is 9 for 9 on full attempts with a long of 53. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that on the screen so we can know what we're talking about here. Yeah, I mean, vets have limited to no reps today. That I can understand that, because I mean, this is not something that you want to let snowball. When I say something, I mean these injuries, right? This is not something that you want to let snowball. I mean, yesterday it was Isaiah Likely. Today it's Zay Flowers being held out of practice. Of course, Jair Alexander had to get his knee drained. Rashad Bateman was sick, even though that's a little bit of a different thing, right? But basically what I'm saying is you don't want injuries to start to compound, right? And you don't want it to snowball. So I kind of leaving them out, giving them a day of rest, right? Giving them a day of recovery, because at the end of the day, listen, man, it's July, right? We're not even in August yet. We're not even in preseason yet. This is training camp. So you have to kind of dial it back a little bit. And I like that John Harbaugh is doing this. But yeah, man, I mean, the fact that the starters aren't playing so much and the vets aren't playing so much today, it does have a lot to do with the Ravens being a tough watch. I can imagine that. And that's what Jeff Zerbeck is saying here. But T drops and errant passes. I would love to know who's dropping passes out there. The errant passes, of course, those are probably coming from Mark Cooper Rush, but the penalties are another big thing. The penalties are a big thing that I do not want the Ravens. I do not want the Ravens taking into the regular season. Just can't have that happen, right? Just cannot have penalties be plaguing the Ravens early on, especially with such a tough schedule. We know it's hard. It's hard, like going into an NFL season, as I talked about yesterday, the rules are ever changing, right? And so good that the Ravens are bringing in, and I don't know if you guys heard the news about this yesterday, but the Ravens are bringing in former referees, guys who are close to the officials, to kind of help them usher their way into the season in terms of like what rules to look out for, what calls are referees going to be called a lot more this upcoming season, what whistles are they going to swallow a little bit more, things like that. The Ravens bought in a guy. I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name, but they bought in a guy yesterday. They dropped the news that they have in camp helping them with that as well. But let's see here. The penalties, yeah, and the drops. That's tough. Now Tyler Loop going 9 for 9 on field goal attempts today after struggling the other day, missing 3 of them, I think, from 40. This is good news. Tyler Loop has been up and down in OTAs, training camp. The only time really to know what we have with Tyler Loop is week 1 of the NFL season. I don't even think preseason. at this point will be a good barometer for how we feel about Tyler Loop. You know, um, pressurized situations early in the season because again, the Ravens schedule for 2025 it starts off with an absolute bang, right? So week one, Bills again. I can see him being put in some high pressure situations. Some long 30, high 30-yard field goals, maybe some 40-yarders, things like that in that Bills game at Orchard Park, Sunday Night Football, under the lights, fans are screaming. That's when we'll know what Tyler Loop is made of. Okay. That's when we'll know what Tyler Loop is made of. And then, of course, divisional game against the Browns. I feel like that one's going to be tough. You're going to need all the points you can get when it comes to these divisional games. That one's going to be tough. And then after that, you got the Lions, right, who are going to be angry, especially coming off of last year's disappointment, losing to the Commanders, but in just devastating fashion in the divisional round. Really got blown out in that game. They're going to be a tough game. The Chiefs, right after that, losing this, they're going to be pissed and coming out ready to play. That's in Kansas City. I think a lot of these games could be close, and that's where I say we'll see what Tyler really has to offer. Again, in the preseason, yes, I do want to see what he does in the preseason. Him and John Hoyland, I feel like there's some friendly competition there. But let's be real. Let's go. The Ravens are going to start Tyler Loop, and I don't think we're really going to know what we have in him until September 7th, Sunday Night Football in Orchard Park against the Buffalo Bills for that rematch. So but good here, he's banging one through from 53 here with pads on. This is something that I said yesterday. I think that Tyler Loop struggled a little bit because up to this point, he's been kicking in shorts and a jersey instead of kicking in pads. And I think Harbaugh talked about it, and I agree with this take, actually. Harbaugh said it yesterday, I think, in a presser. He talked to the media or something like that. He said that, maybe the special teams guys should wear pads like all the time, you know, because they don't have to worry about getting hit, but kicking is a lot. I would imagine I've never been an NFL kicker, but I'd imagine that kicking a football is a lot has to do with muscle memory. Has a lot to do with muscle memory. And muscle memory is going to be a lot different for a kicker when it comes to kicking, with and without pads on. Like it's going to feel different, right? Like we talk about so much like the Wolf Pack. You guys remember the good old days with Tuck and Sam Cook and our holder as well. Like those guys talked about how much of an operation it is, how advanced it is. Like they have everything measured down to a science when it comes to their kicking process, right? So I can only imagine, if you don't have pads on, that kind of screws up the operation a little bit. No, like at the end of the day, you don't get to trot out there and kick with no pads. So the fact that it was his first day in pads, I think that is probably the reason struggling a little bit. So I understand it, but it is very encouraging to hear that today he was 9 for 9, hit along from 53. Continue to see how he progresses there, though. Let's go ahead and move along here. See what else we got. Again, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Please like the video. If nothing else, like the video, subscribe to our channel if you are new here. Again, my name is Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. This is the Quiet Storm Sports show that I'm going to try to do daily. Right now I know I'm doing it in the like midday window, but I kind of want to do it either early mornings or at night or maybe midday. I don't know, whatever works best for you guys. I want to make sure that you guys are able to tune in. But again, make sure you sound off in the comments. Everybody watching on X, a lot of people watching on X. We got over 150 viewers total right now. Shout out to you guys. Let me see what else is said today. So Jonas Schaefer reporting the Ravens practice is close over. Defense has the upper hand again. Along with Zay Flowers' injury, it looks like Rashad Bateman got most of the day off. A lot of other veterans on offense getting loads or vet days. Some good showings in one-on-ones, but 4 false starts equals yikes. Yeah, that is something that I know Todd Monken is going absolutely nuts over right now. The false starts is just not some. Again, we're going to be in a lot of close games in the beginning of the season. That it just is what it is. We're talking Chiefs, talking Bills, we're talking Lions, we're talking a divisional game against the Browns, and after that, we got a pissed off Texans teams. We're going to be in some pretty close. I think some of these games we can win running away, but I feel like a lot of these games is going to come down to who can limit mistakes the best. And that has honestly been something that's plagued the Ravens, especially in the postseason. We tend to do a pretty good job at kind of getting in the regular season, but right now with these penalties, these false starts, these pre-snap things, got to get that cleaned up. Got to get that cleaned up because I will be my hair out on stream during these games if that is something that kind of rears its ugly head and sets us back. All right, let's see what else we got here. 11 on 11 drills. Okay, let's see what Jonas Schaefer has to say about today's 11 on 11 drills from the Ravens. So he says Tavius Robinson flashed early in 11 on 11 drills and Mike Green flashed late. Tavius Robinson ran through Roger Rosengarten en route to a sack at a task as well. Mike Green's turned into Gumby a couple times bending the corner. Not Jair Alexander's best day, but secondary has been sharp again. So yeah, I mean, it sounds good. I mean, the defense is sounding pretty lethal now. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, Mike Green actually said it yesterday at his presser. He was saying how Tavius Robinson is a veteran, even though Tavius Robinson is still relatively young in his NFL career too. I think it's only year 3 for Tavius Robinson, if I'm not mistaken. But he was saying how he looks up to Tavius Robinson as a vet, and Tavius does all the things like that. So Tavius Robinson is a name that again nobody knows except if you're a Ravens fan. But this guy has played well under the radar for the Ravens, especially as they kind of usher him more and more and give him a bigger role in this defense. So going into this year, I don't really have. I'm gonna curb my expectations for Tavius Robinson because I know he's a rotational player. He's not gonna be down there on 3 downs and things like that. But I want to see some preseason production from Tavius Robinson, right? I want to see that. I want to see some preseason production from Mike Green as well, because again, I think that the next step defense has to take is becoming not only a productive pass rush, because the Ravens in the past 2 years have been number 1 in sacks, number 2 in sacks, right? But in terms of like game changing, right? Like game changing pass rushers, game changing pressure, right? In terms of like being able to rush forward and having that guy who can create that immediate pressure on a quarterback, the Ravens have largely not had that. They just haven't, right? A lot of their pressure, a lot of their sacks comes from, manufactured pressure, twists, stunts, things like that. A guy who can just generate natural pressure almost instantly will prove to be invaluable for this Ravens team. It's not going to help the front seven, it's going to help the secondary as well. And it's also going to help being able to force turnovers, which is a big thing for me. It's a big thing I know for our Ravens. They have not been able to force turnovers, especially not in the postseason. That's a huge point of emphasis, bringing Chuck Pagano back. Zach Orr spoke about it last week. Mark Humphrey's been tweeting about it. Turnovers are going to be huge. And I think that starts with the pass rush. It starts with the pass rush. So I love the fact we see, Tavius Robinson, he's flashing early in these drills, 11 on 11, and Mike Green as well. Mike Green is stacking days. Mike Green, ever since the pad been put on, he's been stacking days. I don't want that to go unnoticed, right? 17 and a half sacks last year at Marshall College football, right? How will that translate to the NFL? So far, we're seeing that, again, he's holding his own against NFL talent. We'll see what happens in the preseason. We'll see what happens in the regular season. But if that guy can emerge as the star premier pass rusher for this Baltimore Ravens team, mark my words, it's going to be a hard time imagining anybody else in the Super Bowl. You think, again, like I said, I watched that Bills divisional loss again yesterday. There were some times in that game where Josh Allen and the Bills offense was reeling. They were struggling, right? There were some third downs where we would rush for, and guys just couldn't get home. Just couldn't, right? We're getting stood up, pushed around, couldn't get home. That is not like, we have to have more plays like downs in 5 or more where it's obvious passing situations. We got to have a guy where we can rush for, and we have confidence in him to at least make the quarterback uncomfortable. At least make a defensive coordinator game plan for his side of the field, right? For out of the where he's rushing from. We don't have that right now. As good as Kyle Van Noy has been, he's not that guy. He's not the guy where you have to allocate extra resources to. Neither is Odafe Owe, right? I think we have some really good interior D linemen in Travis Jones and Nnamdi Madubuike, but I think that they need a guy outside of them, right? On their left and right shoulders. I think that they need guys outside of them when they're rushing for to be able to fly the quarterback so they can step up into the pressure of a Nnamdi Madubuike, of a Travis Jones, and create more sacks and also create more turnovers as well. You got to mistakes. That's all it is, and I think it starts with the pass rush. So again, very, very good, very, very encouraging to hear that these guys here are very encouraging to hear that these guys are performing well so far in training camp. Let me take a look at the chat here. What's going on, chat? You see, we got Manuel's college channel here. What's up, son? What's going on, Manuel? Appreciate you for coming through. Don says we need to bring back Brandon Stevens to get the offense confidence back up. Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. I see Brandon Stevens. He's already getting head tapped in training camp by the Jets receivers. So salute to Brandon Stevens. Had a good year with us in 2023, 2024, not so much, but salute to him. Hope he does well. King Tay in the house. What's going on, King Tay? Says I training camp was 2 weeks at the most. Yeah, man. I mean, it's never fun hearing about injuries, period, but especially in training camp where it's like, bro, we haven't even made it to preseason yet, right? It just kind of puts a bad, like, sour taste in your mouth about the season before it starts. Like, we're talking about Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers already being injured, right? When those are supposed to be two huge pieces on our two huge pieces. We have other weapons as well. I get that, but Zay Flowers is supposed to be wide receiver one. Isaiah Likely is supposed to be tight end one, right? And going forward, I mean, we're talking about contract negotiations for Isaiah Likely. There were rumors yesterday that the Ravens and Isaiah Likely were close to a deal. Then news of Isaiah Likely getting hurt comes out, and then shortly following that, news comes out that they are far apart on a deal. Deal is close; it's not imminent, right? So I found that a little bit interesting that like that's how like the news, like the series of news kind of came out in that they're like, oh, the Ravens are getting close to signing Isaiah Likely because the Cowboys just signed Jake Ferguson. So there's more clarity on the tight end market now. So they're going to sign Isaiah Likely and then Likely get hurt. And an hour later, it's like, oh, the Ravens and Isaiah Likely are not close to signing at all. And maybe that's why Isaiah Likely, he was reported, after he went down with the injury yesterday, maybe that's why he was pounding the ground in frustration. Maybe because he knew that, like, dang, like, I was getting somewhere in these contract talks, right? I was, campaigning for, I don't know whether it be 15 million, 16 million, whatever, but more than Jake Ferguson, right? Especially doubling his touchdown production in the last 2 years. He deserves the money. And I feel like maybe he looked at this injury as like a setback, things like that. So let me see. Manuel's COD channel says, imagine Green lighting a fire on Owe to get sacked so he can get that money. Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that. That's good. I mean, you need that competition at edge. I think a guy like Odafe Owe going into what is this? Is his 5th year with the Ravens, I want to say. Contract season to get that next contract with the Ravens. Coming off of a double-digit sack season. We know he got into a scuffle the other day with Carson Benson. I think it was Monday. Excuse me, I want to say, but maybe Odafe Owe needs a chip on his shoulder, right? I feel like he's still not getting the respect that he feels like he deserves. So he's going to come into the season like, okay, yeah, you guys drafted another edge with a high draft pick, right? Second round pick, what could have been a first rounder. Obviously, there's some pressure on me to perform this year because if that guy performs, being Mike Green, if that guy outperforms me in his rookie season, so much for me getting paid by Baltimore. And I think that's the truth. I think that's the honest to God truth. Odafe Owe knows full well, right? He knows full well if he allows Mike Green to pop off and start getting sacks and he's doing the arrow celebration, you know what I mean? And he becomes like a media darling to Ravens media. And not only that, to national media. If national media starts picking up his name, oh, it's clips for Odafe Owe. I think it's clips. He knows. He knows. So yeah, I think Mike Green being in the building, all the talk about him performing well so far, if he can take that into the regular season, I think it'll definitely light a fire under Odafe Owe for sure. Don says if Green goes off, no more double teams on Madubuike and Owe goes off. That's true. That's true. Nnamdi Madubuike said last year, I mean, he was top 3 most double teamed defensive tackles in the league. Nnamdi Madubuike was, right? And he still had a pretty good season. He actually talked about Madubuike did. He said, like, hey, look, I put on extra weight just so I could deal with these guys who are trying to double team me. You know what I mean? So if he can get some of that taken, some of that pressure taken off of his plate by some of the guys on the outside who just have that natural ability when rushing with four, not even having to manufacture pressure, just going to give you one pass rush move, and I'm in your quarterback's lap. If we can have a guy like that, that's going to open up opportunities for Madubuike. It's going to open up opportunities for Travis Jones. No one is going to be able to face this Ravens defensive line if the edge rushing can start to generate more consistent pressure with four rushers, not five, not six, not manufactured pressure with stunts and twists and all the other terms in the book. No, I'm talking about just pure pressure. Give you one pass rush move in your quarterback's lap. That's what we're talking about. That's the guy we need. Simple as that. Simple as that. Okay. Moving right along here, almost an hour into this stream. Thank y'all so much for watching this stream. We have almost 160 people watching live right now. Thank y'all so much again. My name is Sutton Def. You can follow me if you're watching on X right now, which I know most of you are. Make sure you follow me. Hit that little follow button on X at Sutton Def. You can follow me on Instagram as well at Sutton Def. Same thing. If you want to support the show, got the Cash App link right here by my head. You can either hit the Cash App link or you can give us a super chat donation, give one of our memberships, anything we appreciate, man. Okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead and move along here and see what else is coming out of Ravens training camp. I think practice should be over now. So we should have some more news. Let's see what we got. On Zay Flowers. Okay, so we got an update on Zay Flowers. And we got an update on Isaiah Likely. Okay, so good stuff. Good stuff coming through live right here as we speak. Let me go ahead and refresh the timeline here. I love this, man. I love this. I love reacting to things live, right? Let me see here. Don't really care about Alex Caruso right now. It's not gambling season yet, at least not for me. Let me see. I saw it down here somewhere. So this is big. This is big right here. Jeff Zrebeck just tweeted this 7 minutes ago. John Harbaugh confirmed the 6 to 8 week timeline for Likely's return. So all this morning, it was 6 weeks, right? We were hearing 6 weeks from Ian Rappaport. Other reporters were saying 6 weeks for Isaiah Likely. But now Harbaugh has come out and said 6 to 8 weeks, right? 6 to 8 weeks. So I was already saying at the top of this stream, hey, look, like, he's not going to play against the Bills, right? If I'm the Ravens, I err on the side of caution. I think that's what John Harbaugh is doing right now by giving you the timetable of 6 to 8 weeks being the max. 2 months, right? I think we don't see Isaiah Likely until, because I think he'll probably rehab quicker than we expect. I think, again, Harbaugh is just erring on the side of caution. But I think we don't see Isaiah Likely until Monday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. And rightfully so. I think that, of course, the Bills is going to be a little bit too soon. Very, very soon. Way too soon for Isaiah Likely, which is unfortunate because, man, I think about that week 1 against the Chiefs last season, Isaiah Likely, and what he was able to do. Let me see his stats in that game. Because he had himself a game. Isaiah Likely, let me see, stats versus Chiefs in that week 1 game last year. He had a good game. One game where he was just constantly, being targeted by Lamar Jackson. In that game, yeah, man, I mean, this is a ridiculous stat line. Week 1, Isaiah Likely from 2024. 12 targets, 9 catches. Let's just stop at the 12 targets. 12 targets for a tight end not named Mark Andrews. Do you realize how insane that is? Do you realize how impactful that is? But 9 catches on those 12 targets for 111 receiving yards and a touchdown. And what was almost the go-ahead 2-point conversion. And if we're talking week 1, you know what I mean? Like, I would love to see him out there against the Bills. I feel like him and Mark would both go out there and absolutely torch the Buffalo Bills and have really big games. But 12 targets for Isaiah Likely in week 1 of last year. That's a lot of targets, man, for the Ravens. It's a lot of targets coming from Lamar Jackson. The trust and the chemistry that Lamar Jackson has with this guy cannot be spoken about. So we're gonna miss him. He will be missed. I see somebody in the chat. Manuel says 6 to 8 weeks he will play. KC or Houston is what we're predicting. So you're thinking week 4 or week 5 he will come back. I'm gonna say between it's gonna be either week or 4. It's either gonna be he'll definitely be back by KC. I think he'll definitely be back for the Chiefs game. Um, don't be surprised in the next 2 weeks you see him, jogging around and things like that. I could see that, and then they'll ramp him up. And I feel like by that Monday night football game, by that Monday night football game against Detroit, he could be coming back. I do. I think the Monday night football game against Detroit. Now I would be surprised if his progress is kind of stunted and he's not really doing as well as we thought he was, and he ends up coming back against AC or Houston. I wouldn't be surprised, but if I had to bet my money on it, I'd say the Detroit Lions is when he comes back. Again, this is all speculation. I don't know how Isaiah Likely's foot is feeling. I don't know if he's already gotten the surgery yet. Apparently, it's going to be this week, but prayers up to him for sure because we definitely need him. We definitely need him. Let me see what else is being reported out of Ravens camp. 6 to 8 weeks. Damn, man. That sucks. That sucks. Harbaugh says that Zay Flowers has a quote unquote camp type injury and should return in a few days. Okay. Okay. Got you. Got you. By the way, Harbaugh doubles down on saying that Isaiah's injury does require surgery, but it's not one of those major deals, but it is something. Okay. All right. But Zay Flowers has a camp type injury and should return in a few days. No specifics on the injury, but he does not sound concerned. Okay. So that's news there for sure. Again, man, I think it's one of those, and with this news, I think that kind of tells us that it's the same knee. I think it's the same knee, even though nobody's come out and confirmed that yet. But I think it's just one of those things that just kind of lingers. Once you put pads on, once you start getting physical again, that's a different type of work stress you're putting on your body. You know, it's different from running around in shorts where it's non-contact, nobody's touching you, things like that. But when you're a receiver and you're in 11 on 11 reps, and your defenders trying to jam you on the line, putting hands on you, you're bumping run coverage, things like that. Different type of work, a different type of stress and strain put on your limbs, put on your ligaments. Like it just is. So I can see that's probably his first like real physical, like competitive contact. I can see that knee kind of like flaring back up, at least even mentally, right? Some guys that phantom, that shadow pain where it's like, I mean, I know I injured this before. I know doc says I'm good. I've been feeling good the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, but now that I'm putting real pressure and strain on it, I can still kind of feel where this isn't all the way the same yet. And I think that's probably what Zay Flowers is really dealing with right now. It's unfortunate, but obviously Harbaugh says it's not a big deal. He should be back in the next couple of days. He's gonna miss a few days. But should be back, hopefully. And that's if you believe the things that John Harbaugh has to say. Um, Apparently, Bo Braid has been flying around. He's playing really well. That's always good news. Hearing that depth on the in the secondary, all they need, especially in these long ass seasons. We've seen it before. Do not want to be decimated with injuries in your secondary. It's the worst thing that could happen to your football team, especially late in the season, man. You can just get the ball thrown all over the yard on you. Don't want that. Don't want that. Chidobe Awuzie. I've heard Awuzie has been having a good camp so far as well. Again, talking about that secondary. Harbaugh here saying that he knows how to play. I'm very excited about him. Maybe that means knows how to play like a Raven. I don't know. We'll see. Also saying that Harbaugh says that Jalen Armour Davis should not miss too much time. Good news there. Again, secondary depth. Let me see what else is coming out of here. Jonas Schaefer, Jalen Armour Davis. Good news on Jalen Armour Davis MRI. Undisclosed injury is another camp thing, quote unquote, and he should not miss too much time per John Harbaugh. Good news on Jalen Armour Davis. So Harbaugh kind of holding things a little bit close to the chest here, talking about these are quote unquote camp things, right? That guys are dealing with instead of giving us the exact details. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Charlie Collar is speaking here. Prepare for training camp. Gonna need Charlie Collar. Obviously with Isaiah Likely going down, he's gonna be out first couple of games. So obviously Mark Andrews is still tight end one on this team, but Charlie Collar is going from tight three and two temporarily, and I know he's going to be asked to do a lot, especially in the blocking game. So I hope that Charlie Collar is prepared for that. Um, Charlie Collar is another one of my co-host Alex's favorite players on the Ravens. Thinks he plays really well, and I can see Charlie Collar popping out with a couple of touchdowns this year as well. I mean, again, those first couple of weeks without Isaiah Likely in the red zone, I can see a lot of two-in personnel being run by the Ravens where Charlie Collar is running a route where he kind of gets lost in translation. He gets lost in the sauce. The defense is still worried about where Mark Andrews is at on the field, where Zay Flowers is at, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins. If the ball's going to get handed to Derrick Henry or if Lamar keep it, no one's going to be really checking for Charlie Collar in the back of the end zone. So I could see in those first 3 weeks, and you can go ahead and put me for this. This is gonna be a hot take, but I think that Charlie Collar scores a touchdown within the first 3 weeks of the regular season. I think you can book that. You can book that. I don't know what the odds are on it, but I think you can book it. I think you can book it. Um, yeah, yeah. So let me see what else is here coming out of Ravens training camp. Obviously, camp has wrapped up for the day. Let me see if there's any more news. I'm not seeing anything right now. I'm sure there will be more coming out, tweeted by these beat reporters here in the next couple of minutes. So for now, I want to go ahead and shift gears into other topic, not Ravens related, but this is something that came out earlier today, hit the timeline, actually right before I went live. I want to pull up Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe, who obviously had the big scandal going on with him over the summer with OnlyFans model who he had a relationship with, and she accused him of doing some certain inappropriate things. That's it. Some grape. That's what they say. That was the speculation. She was suing him for what, $50 million, I want to say, and they ended up settling. I don't know the exact number that he settled with her for, but they settled, and now ESPN has come out and they are cutting ties with Shannon Sharpe. This is actually very, very surprising to me. This is very surprising to me. I don't know, and over 170 people watching live right now. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Shannon Sharpe situation. He has cut ties with ESPN, or ESPN has cut ties with him, which is a very, very interesting development. Don C says, "Oh, freaky unk." I don't know what Shannon Sharpe has going on personally. I mean, I know a couple of things based off of some things that have leaked from him, and the things that he says with Chad Ochocinco on his Nightcap show actually revealed a lot about himself. I don't know if he should keep doing that because some people use these things against him in the court of public opinion. But yeah, Shannon Sharpe, he has been cut from ESPN officially. It was announced that once these allegations really started being levied again a couple of months ago, he had announced that he was stepping away from ESPN for the time being to kind of resolve some things like that. But he was still doing his Nightcap show. He was still doing Club Shay Shay like nothing ever happened. I think he lost a couple sponsorships along the way. But now we find him being unemployed, being fired from ESPN right before he was about to get this $100 million deal with ESPN, who, of course, Disney is their parent company. And I didn't think that, especially after him settling and that whole situation seemingly going away, I did not expect for ESPN to just fully cut ties with him. I thought that they would have brought him back, right? I thought that they would have brought him back and maybe not give him his own show, right? Which that's what they were planning to do, because I think that Shannon Sharpe is a lot better as an A mic. He did so well with Bayless all those years at Undisputed because they both kind of share the A mic kind of a job. With ESPN, I feel like his talents were never really kind of capitalized, like him and Stephen A. Smith. I would love to see them really go back and forth and and debate styles every day, like face to face. That would have been a lot of fun, but ESPN didn't really set up their of they didn't set up that the show like that, right? They were just kind of like playing off of each other, kind of too buddy buddy to me. Like they weren't really at each other, which is what I think you need Shannon Sharp to be able to do in order to get the best out of him, right? ESPN never got the best out of Shannon Sharp. He was just a big name. His name was still grown. I think it is still growing, to be honest with you. But I was surprised that they fully decided to let him go. They didn't say like, "Hey, look, like we're gonna negotiate this new contract that we got coming up. Maybe not $100 million we're gonna give you. Now we can see us giving you maybe $56 million. And how do you feel about that? And maybe that is what they came to the table with him with after these allegations came out. And maybe he was like, no, like like I still want my 100 million, or I at least want X, like 85, 90 million. Who knows, right? But the fact of the matter is, ESPN, they got him up out of there. And Shannon Sharp is in a very interesting spot now because course, he has multiple streams of income. He's not gonna be hurting for cash or anything like that. At least I don't think so. I don't see it happening. He's still got Nightcap, which is very successful. There's a follower on YouTube for Club Shay Shay as well. Um, but he doesn't have that kind of, I guess you could say, like or like that full time, that full time gig that he had with ESPN. That he's making a boatload of money off of that, and then everything else is kind of Nightcap, Club Shay Shay is for fun. He's building his own brand, and he's of course working under the volume with Colin Cowherd too. But his big bag was coming from Disney and ESPN. So now that he doesn't have that, it'll be interesting to see if he goes and tries to parlay with one of these other big networks. Maybe he goes back to I don't think he's going to go back to Fox Sports. I don't think that they'll have him. And if they did offer him something, they would lowball the crap out of him. One, because he left, and two, because he just got kicked out of ESPN. So it's not like you're going to come running back home to us. No, sorry. We'll offer you 10 million, 15, I don't know. Like something that he probably would not want. So I don't know. It's just interesting what he's gonna do going into this football season, because football season is here now. It officially starts tomorrow with the Hall of Fame game being first preseason game being played, but of course regular season starts in September. And for him to not have a gig where he's going to be on live television and on Monday morning, Tuesday morning, and throughout the week, I don't know I don't know what he's gonna do. I just don't know what he's gonna do. It'll be very interesting to see his move. I doubt he talks about it on Nightcap. It'll be interesting to see if he does, or if he just kind of holds that close to his chest. Because it's stuff. Who knows? Who knows? But let me see what y'all are saying here in chat. Manuel says, when you're in the public eye, you don't share your private life. That's why you barely hear anything from America. Knows how the media and certain people are. That's true. 100% true. 100% true. Terrell Johnson says, brother, all due respect, figure out this internet connection audio thing, sing it out of love. I agree, bro. I agree. I'm trying to figure out how, like, I've done everything that I can possibly, brother. I've, I've tried disconnecting all my stuff. I've tried like resetting my internet. I don't know what exactly it is. I think it's the streaming for it I'm using. Maybe I gotta transition to a new one. I just started using this one not too long ago, so I really don't know what the audio issue is. I'll try to fix it, Terrell Johnson, but I appreciate the feedback. And yeah, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna keep plugging away at it. Getting fired from ESPN will do own thing. ESPN biggest grabs are Pat McAfee and Barstool. PRP Sutton, you and Alex are next up for ESPN social media. Where's that? I mean, I would love that. I got to get this audio fixed first, though, Don. I got to get the audio fixed first. Um, yeah, maybe I need to upgrade my. Maybe I need to upgrade my. Maybe it's probably the next thing. I have to upgrade my Mac. But that takes a lot of money and stuff like that. So we'll see if I can get going soon here. Um, in other words, support the channel if you do enjoy the show. Like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We do have the super chat donations. We have the Cash App right here above me here. If you want to support directly, we'd appreciate that. But appreciate all feedback. And then what Don is saying here, man, getting fired from ESPN, their biggest grabs are Pat McAfee and of course Stephen A. Smith as well. Barstool. I feel like Shannon Sharp would have been a big part of that. If they would have, if he would have played his cards right, right. If he didn't get into all this mess and with this OnlyFans chick, or he could have been a big part of ESPN going forward. But it is what it is. And like what Manuel said, you're in the public eye. You can't share your private life. Like that whole IG thing where he gets caught, having sex on stream and stuff like that. Like that was to me, it felt like it wasn't a mistake. Right? It felt like it wasn't a mistake. There's just too much that you have to do to go live on Instagram. Trust me, I know. I'm live on Instagram right now streaming. So I know how much it takes to get on Instagram. It just feels like certain things were just kind of like PR stunts, maybe. And that's speculation. But obviously, everything that he's done, kind of exposing his personal life has backfired on him thus far. It's backfired. Oh, but yeah, man. Thoughts and prayers, right? Hopefully he gets it together. I don't know what he plans on doing with his own platforms, but I'm sure he'll continue to post on those. But he is no longer a part of ESPN and Disney. But yeah, let me see if there's any more news coming out of Ravens training camp before I go ahead and wrap up here. If you got any questions, leave them down below in the chat, in the comment section. Uh, So Gianna Hahn reporting here, Charlie Collar, he knows people really care about sports, but some of the things being said to Mark Andrews were really terrible. He said it sucked to see his teammate go through that, but he was impressed how Andrew handled it. Okay, for sure, for sure. Charlie Collar joked that the Ravens camp practices are so hard. He hasn't been able to think straight about his contract situation. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. He also said, I can't control what they do in the front office, but he'll put his best foot forward. I understand the thing about Mark Andrews. Like, there are people who go at Mark Andrews with like saying like really horrible things about him. Obviously, the whole death threats and taking personal shots on Mark Andrews and things like that. That's happened to so many NFL players who have screwed the pooch in big moments, over the years. I've never agreed with it. I don't like it, but it's inappropriate. It's always been inappropriate, and I feel what Charlie Collar is saying here. Um, Now, I will say that we just got to see some production at some point. Like fans just don't want to hear the excuses, right? Fans dedicate a lot of their time, energy, money to go to these games, to watch these games, and of course, it's just a game. At the end of the day, you still have to live your life, but these fans, they're just emotional. They're just passionate. Like the same way that these guys are passionate playing on the field, football is such a huge sport. Our guy Jason from Huddle It Up Sports or Huddle It Up Film says at the time, football is family, right? Like people take this sport really, really seriously. So I don't agree with the personal attacks. I don't. To Mark Andrews, Mark Andrews just got to perform. That's all. He just got to perform when it matters the most for this team. But yeah, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all it is. Let me see what else you guys have in here in the chat. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below. Terrell Johnson says it's the microwave man. I love JK. I don't know, man. Maybe I think I might move my router closer or try to do something with that. But yeah, I'm doing everything I can to fix it, man. He says on it, hitting the Cash App now. Appreciate that, brother, man. Anything helps. Anything helps. I truly do appreciate that. Let me see. I saw Emmanuel's COD channel saying in here, he said phantom pains are the worst when coming back for them. Yeah, man. Tuh. Yeah, that is the absolute worst, dog. Like I can only imagine, tearing an ACL or something like that, and then coming back, rehabbing all those months, and then having to go back to doing the same thing that tore your ACL, right? You're going to have those flashbacks, right? Mentally, like physically, it's not going to be comfortable. It's a very, very uncomfortable thing to deal with, I'm sure. So we just have to make sure that we give Zay Flowers some grace. We give Isaiah Likely some grace in this time. Of course, they are injured. I don't know if Zay Flowers is going to be good to go by week 1. Apparently, he's only supposed to miss a few days, but again, we'll see what ends up happening there. But all in all, some good news coming out of training camp today. The 11 on 11s was looking good for the defense. Tavius Robinson, Mike Green continue to make strides. They look good. Devontae Walker looks good on the offensive side of things. DeAndre Hopkins is making plays left and right. Nate Wiggins is getting, a lot of work, right? You know, he's getting reps with DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins got the better of him. He got reps with Devontae Walker. Tez Walker got the better of him. Nate Wiggins is also getting the better of these guys too. So it's just a lot of good iron sharpening iron to go around, right? I heard Jair Alexander didn't have the best day today, but he's coming off of being out yesterday from getting his knee drained. He had some knee pain and things like that. So just got to make sure that we don't let these injuries compound. Don't want this to snowball, things like that. But I think that we should be okay. I think that with John Harbaugh holding out a lot of the vets and kind of taking those extra precautions, this is what we need to do in order to make sure that we can go into the season healthy. Because Lord knows we need it, especially with the gauntlet of the first 4 games, 5, 6 games that we have in the season. So we'll continue to go ahead and monitor Ravens training camp. I'm going to leave it here for now. Almost 2 people still live. Thank y'all so much for coming through to this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. I am Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. You can follow on Twitter, which you're watching on right now. I know most of you guys are watching on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Sutton Def. You can follow me on Instagram at Sutton Def as well. Again, we got the Cash App link here if you want to support the show. Also, we have super chat donations on YouTube too. But yeah, with that being said, like my guy Alex always says, stay positive, negative, and never forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This is your boy Sutton Def from the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Going to catch you guys in the next one.